Hey guys, and welcome to my beginner's guide to the Exile Apocalypse mod, as a lot of players who joined this server are actually used to the classic Exile gameplay, and this one is modified in a way so it resembles DayZ Standalone and Arma 2 DayZ mod. While it offers both great PvE and PvP, everything you do in this mod is very immersive. So let's get right into it, as I hope I have all that's necessary to answer your questions. When spawning in, you can only choose random, which means you will be reborn somewhere along the misty shores of Chernarus. This is one of the things that a lot of new players want to know more about. Why can't you choose where you spawn? By the time this video ends, you will have learned the answer to the question. If not, But to simplify it and give you a sloppy answer right away, it would break a very good level of immersion this server has, and it would change the way people play on it dramatically. You can see I spawned on the coast of Chernarus, and before we get into the actual gameplay, here's some basic info, which will be explained further as we get into the later stages of the guide. Yes, there are vehicles, and no, you cannot buy them. There is no need really. You can find bicycles everywhere, and plus I don't see how a car dealer could make it work in a zombie apocalypse. There is one and only one safe zone, located in the northwestern part of the map, offering some basic gear, a personal locker for your precious pop tabs with the highest possible amount of 12,000 to be stashed, and even an option to play Russian roulette. Cool addition to the mod, but don't expect to buy rocket launchers here. Why don't you need to buy everything? Because it can either be found while moving your ass across the map, or it can be crafted. The user interface for your character is quite simple on the bottom right. First we have your temperature level, and of course there are the hunger and thirst levels, so apparently you need to eat and drink so you don't die. Temperature drops during winter time if you're not wearing a winter suit, and it also drops during summer when it starts getting dark. Thermal bodies will warm you up very quickly, then you have beer and coffee, or you can simply stand next to a campfire. To introduce the crafting system, here's how to make a campfire. Gently approach a tree with an axe and say hello. Hit the tree a couple of times and pick up 2 wood logs. Double click on the wood log, go to recipes and craft the fireplace kit. Place it down by double clicking on it again and hit construct in the bottom left of the UI. Press space to place it down, and voila! You can now cook food, boil water, or just chant and worship Satan. Considering you have a matchbox and a cooking pot, you can now light the fire and cook your food. When cooked, canned food will bring your hunger level to the max. Same goes for fresh water and thirst. To be able to cook the canned food, let alone eat it, you need a can opener and a cooking pot. To get fresh water, you can either find it or fill empty water bottles at a water source. Most common ones are the town wells, so just select your dirty water bottle, double click it and select recipes and empty them. Now double click on the empty bottle and fill it up with fresh water while standing in front of the pipe. The other way is to boil the dirty water on your campfire. The drop of blood obviously represents your health. Note however that if your temperature level is all the way down, you will start to lose health. To heal up, you need bandages, which give back the lowest amount of health, Vishprin in the middle, and finally we have the Holy Instadoc. Restores your health completely, no questions asked. Having your temperature, hunger and thirst levels on max also helps, but when injured in a firefight, you will want that Instadoc. One of the coolest features of this server is that it uses the enhanced movement, which allows you to jump, climb over walls, even climb on top of some houses. It is a very useful thing to have, especially in PvP situations where jumping over a wall sometimes can save your life. It is defined by user action key 1 in your custom controls. Sometimes, however, it happens so that the enhanced movement stops working. Simply relog and it will fix it. Now that we went through the basic interaction, let's move on to basic gear. Considering that you don't want to stay around the coastal area for long, even when you want to easily find other players to engage. And this is another great thing about this server, as the action is everywhere but on the coast. with some exceptions of course, but they change from time to time. It is usually Belota and Berezino, sometimes Cherno and Electro, but still they are nowhere near as dangerous as when compared to some other mods. The first pieces of gear I look for are a backpack and a gun, so I can grab as much food and as many drinks as I can to start my journey. Some of the coastal spawns have military tents close to them, so I suggest you don't spend too much time looting those. And one more thing before we get into more detail, server restarts happen at 6:30 in-game time, so you can either check the top right corner of your map. If you don't have a map, just press O, which is the default key for your watch. If you threw your watch away, well then, you're stupid. As a good and balanced mod, Exile Apocalypse has different loot types spawning in different areas. Maybe this is not very insightful, but I still wanted to mention it, as this, after all, is a beginner's guide. Civilian uniforms, food, drinks, bandages, basic stashes, and lower tier weapons can be found pretty much anywhere, with towns being the easiest places to search. And by lower tier weapons I mean World War II bolt-action rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, and such. Standard military loot can be found in military bases, and this includes assault rifles, sniper rifles, protective vests, camo uniforms, backpacks with larger carrying capacity of course. The highest tier military loot spawns on heli crashes and inside the so-called secret bunker, so rocket launchers are only one example of what you can find. To further explain what I consider to be a basic tier weapon, I'll take the scoped Springfield as an example. This rifle has a very high base damage and is usually capable of dropping targets with a single shot, but there is no option to mod it. It's super loud and it only takes 5-round magazines, and it's pretty easy to come across when scavenging civilian areas. Contrary to that, we have something like a TRG-42, a 338 bolt action spawning on helicopter crashes. It can be heavily modded, it can be suppressed, so you see the difference. And you will learn to appreciate the balance concerning the weapon arsenal on the server and the way it works. Medical loot is also a part of the before mentioned spawn types, with the exception of triage tents and hospitals, which are prone to spawning medical equipment only. Base building and vehicle repair materials can be found in the industrial zones, small metal shacks in towns, and big tin buildings. When you get familiar with the mod, and the fact that most of the towns have either custom buildings added, you will have no problem pinpointing the best possible places to loot certain things. I am not going to give away every little detail, I'll leave that up to you. Helicopter and plane crashes are my favorite, as they are high risk but also very rewarding. So for all of you 50 cal lovers, this is the place to look for. Thick smoke rising high up in the air can be spotted from far away, so you'll have no trouble of finding them, just keep moving north. Finally, airdrops occur every hour or so, and they will be marked on the map with notifications telling you when the drop is going to happen. They are totally random and can contain food, medical equipment, building materials, or weapons. The box is initially covered in red smoke, which goes away after some time, but does attract a decent amount of players and is highly likely to be camped. So, watch out! Cars, trucks, helicopters, planes can be found while roaming around, and to know what you need in order to repair one, scroll wheel and a message shall appear. Have you seen the Elder Scrolls? So, if a tire is missing, you will need to find a tire. Pretty self-explanatory. As I said before, you cannot buy vehicles nor lock them, so either find a hiding spot or lock them inside your base and let it rot. One of the official server rules is that you can only have one ground vehicle and one helicopter inside your base. If you're wondering about the spawn locations and where to find vehicles in general, airfields have a couple of airplane and helicopter spawn points, and as for the cars, trucks, buses, and tractors go, well, you'll just have to move around and search. There are, however, a lot of vehicles to be found, both repaired and hidden, and those that need some repair to be able to drive. But again, you cannot buy vehicles, but you can steal someone else's vehicles in the safe zone if and only if you are the only person in the safe zone for 5 minutes. I wouldn't get too comfortable with that. The heart and soul of every survival mod is crafting. From something basic like a single bandage to player-built bases reaching the clouds, it is an essential part of this particular mod. Although I'm not a huge fan of crafting per se, I don't got time to be chopping down trees for hours and playing house inside my base, no. But for everybody else that's interested, be my guest. It's something to do, and believe it or not, deciding to go on loot runs will most likely end in a 30-minute long peekaboo fight. I will not demonstrate how to build an entire base, and if you're wondering why, well, everything you need to know about crafting will be in the recipes tab upon double-clicking certain tools or mats. To be able to stash everything you will need to build a home sweet home, you will first need to place down a tent. Piece of cake, double click on it and hit construct. Tents stay upon server restart, so they serve as your private space for all your junk. Until somebody finds them. You can also place them inside buildings. Just to show you an example, here's what you need to craft a flagpole for your base. I know it's a lot of stuff, but I made 3 or 4 runs to a big industrial compound and was able to get everything within a couple of hours. For an example of what can be crafted for personal use, there is a 9mm suppressor and a super cool ghillie suit. For a full tutorial on how to craft a ghillie suit, click here. Another example is 2 pieces of toilet paper which, when fused together and sealed with goat's blood, give you a bandage. Yay! Or you can just wipe yourself. What would a zombie survival look like? Well, without zombies. They are here to piss you off, nibble on your flesh, make creepy sounds, and let everybody else around you know you're there. Zombies are usually not a big threat as they're not very fast and will, most of the time, act as if you're not around. They do spawn on players, however, within a certain radius, so that's one way of knowing you're not alone. When they get close, they tend to bite, making your character scream in pain. Dealing with zombies, or killing them, is not always necessary. Just keep in mind that somebody can spot them from far away and instantly know something's up. So it's maybe better to cover up your tracks, but I prefer to keep my distance and not shoot at them at all, or I do it when I have a suppressed sidearm. They do, however, have some loot on them, so if you're completely sure you're alone, feel free to kill them and loot them. Player interactions usually end in a respawn screen, so I wouldn't risk going near somebody and asking them if they're friendly. I'm not saying that every single player who plays this mod is hostile, this is just an advice. You can of course find friendly people on the server, but do approach them with caution. If you decide to roleplay, somebody eventually will go along with it. And still you have to keep in mind that a very high number of players are shooting on sight. Just a heads up. Oh, and don't be surprised when you get killed out of nowhere, cause lots of rooftop picnics are going around. Exile Apocalypse is constantly getting updates, taking decent suggestions from players in consideration for future tweaks, so you can expect an interesting yet very tense atmosphere, a true DayZ kind of feel, without broken mechanics. I would like to maybe see hunting introduced, or fishing. Maybe craft a fishing pole and cook some fish. Or eat it raw. Fishing would be nice. I went fishing with Skrillex once, but he kept dropping the bass. I appreciate you checking out this video, hope you find it helpful, so feel free to leave a like or dislike, and consider subscribing as I'm trying to post as much helpful content as I can, and that helps me make even more vids. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, don't drop the bass, and see you in game.